The small fingers clutching a scratched Spider-Man action figure in a truck stop parking lot at sunset weren't what stopped me. It was the voice, a 6-year-old, trying to sound like a salesman. "Please buy my toy, sir. Just $5. Daddy can't pay for gas, and we need to go home." The boy's shoes had holes. His father sat in a beat-up Honda 30 feet away, face buried in his hands, shoulders shaking. I'm Marcus Cole, been driving 18-wheelers for 12 years, and I've seen desperation. But this felt different. This felt like a system breaking a family in real time. Over the next 20 minutes, you'll hear how a network of truck drivers unraveled a predatory scheme that had been stealing from stranded motorists for years, and how one little boy's courage exposed an operation that authorities had missed. If you saw a child selling their own toys to help their parent, what would you do? Comment below what your first instinct would be, because what happened next at that Nevada truck stop will change how you see roadside assistance forever. I just finished a run from Sacramento to Salt Lake City, pulling into the Pilot at Fernley for fuel and food. The sun was setting orange over the desert, and the parking lot was half full with the usual mix of big rigs and passenger vehicles. That's when I saw Tommy, though I didn't know his name yet. He was working the lot systematically, approaching truckers with a small box of toys. Not panhandling, selling. There's a difference. His pitch was practiced, like he'd done this before. "These are my favorite toys, but Daddy says we need money more than toys right now." Most drivers waved him off or gave him $1 without taking anything. But I watched him for 5 minutes, and something in my gut said this wasn't a scam. This was survival. I climbed down from my Freightliner and walked over. Up close, the kid looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. The kind of tired that comes from stress, not just lack of sleep. His box contained maybe 20 items. Action figures, a few Hot Wheels cars, a stuffed dinosaur. Things a kid would actually treasure. "Hey buddy," I said, kneeling down to his level. "What's your name?" He looked at me with this mixture of hope and fear. "Tommy, do you want to buy something? I have a really cool Optimus Prime. It transforms and everything." His voice cracked on the last word. I glanced at the Honda. The man inside hadn't moved. "Tell you what, Tommy, I'll buy something. But first, can you tell me why you're out here?" The truth. He bit his lip, debating. Then the words came out in a rush. "Our car broke down on the highway yesterday. A tow truck came and said they'd help us. But then they took us to their yard and said we owe $2,300 before we can have our car back. Daddy doesn't have that much money. He called Grandma, but she doesn't either. The tow truck man said if we don't pay in 3 days, he sells our car and will owe even more for storage fees. Daddy has to get to work on Monday, or he'll lose his job. So I told him I could sell my toys, and maybe we could get enough for gas at least." Tommy's eyes filled with tears. He was trying hard not to cry. "But nobody's buying much, and I only have $11, and Daddy says we need at least 50 just to get home, and then we still lose the car." And I held up my hand gently. "Slow down, buddy. Take a breath. What's your dad's name?" "Michael. Michael Torres." Tommy pointed at the Honda. "He's really sad. I've never seen him cry before." That hit me hard. I've got a nephew Tommy's age. The thought of any kid watching their parent break down like this made my blood heat up. But more than that, something about this story triggered a memory. A conversation on the CB radio maybe 6 months back. Another driver talking about a predatory towing operation in Nevada, charging astronomical fees for short tows, holding vehicles hostage, operating just inside the legal gray area. "Tommy, which tow company took your car?" He pulled a crumpled business card from his pocket. "Silver State Recovery." The driver's name was Dex. He was really mean. I photographed the card with my phone. Then I bought Tommy's Optimus Prime for $20 and told him to stay put. I approached the Honda and tapped on the window. Michael Torres looked up, startled, then embarrassed. "I'm sorry about my son bothering people. He shouldn't be." I cut him off. "Your son's not bothering anyone. He's trying to help his dad, which makes him braver than most adults I know. Now tell me exactly what happened." Michael's story came out in broken pieces. His transmission had failed on I-80 eastbound. about 20 miles outside Fernley. He'd called the number on a roadside sign that said 24/7 emergency towing. Silver State Recovery showed up fast. Too fast, in hindsight. The driver, Dex, had been friendly at first, told Michael not to worry. They'd take care of everything. But when they got to the compound, everything changed. The estimate for the tow alone was $1,800. For 20 miles? Michael had protested. Dex had shrugged. Highway towing rates, plus after-hours fees, plus recovery equipment charges. It's all legal. Check the statute. Then came the storage fees. $75 per day, starting immediately. Michael had tried to refuse, to call another company, to get the car released. But Dex had explained very carefully that the vehicle was now in their legal possession under Nevada's towing lien laws. It couldn't be released without full payment. Michael had no credit cards with available limit, no family nearby. His paycheck wasn't due for another week. Dex had smiled, not friendly anymore, and said, "We take cash only. You've got 72 hours before we start legal proceedings to auction the vehicle. After that, you'll owe us the balance plus legal fees even after we sell it." Michael was trapped. And judging by the practiced nature of this operation, he wasn't the first. I pulled out my phone and made a call. "Hey Marcus," came the gravelly voice of my dispatcher. "Lou, what's up?" "Lou, you remember about 6 months ago, someone on the CB talking about a scam towing company in Nevada?" Silence for a beat, then, "Yeah, Silver State something. Driver named Ironwood got hit with it. Lost his personal vehicle. Had to hitchhike home. Why? Because I'm looking at their latest victim. Father and 6-year-old son stranded at Pilot in Fernley. And Lou, this isn't just predatory pricing. This is systematic entrapment." I could hear Lou typing. Ironwood filed a complaint with DOT, but nothing came of it. Said they operate just barely within legal limits. Scummy, but technically allowed. What if they're not operating within limits? What if we can prove fraud, coercion, or violation of interstate commerce regulations? More typing. Then you'd need documentation, multiple victims, pattern of behavior, and probably federal involvement, since it affects interstate travelers. I smiled. "Give me 2 hours. I hung up and looked at Michael. "I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" He nodded, hopeless but willing to grasp at anything. "Good. Don't leave this parking lot. Feed Tommy, there's a Subway inside. Here's $40. I'll be back." I climbed into my truck and grabbed my CB radio. If you believe one person can make a difference when they refuse to look away, subscribe for more true stories from America's highways. Now, watch how a community of drivers turn documentation into justice. Breaker, breaker. This is Colorado Marcus on I-80 at Fernley Pilot. Any drivers ever dealt with Silver State Recovery towing? Need to hear your stories. Over. The CB crackled to life faster than I expected. "Colorado Marcus, this is Ironwood, out of Boise. Those sons of bitches got me last year. $1,800 for a 15-mile tow. Why? Building a case. Ironwood. Need details. How'd they trap you? Transmission leak. Middle of nowhere. They were the only company that answered. Took me to their yard, wouldn't release my truck without cash payment, threatened to auction it in 72 hours. Another voice cut in. Memphis Jack here. Different story, same company. They claimed my trailer had a safety violation and had to be impounded. Charged me $2,000 to get it back, plus 3 days storage. My load was time sensitive. Had to pay or lose the contract. More voices joined. A pattern emerged. Silver State targeted vehicles with out-of-state plates. They positioned spotters at strategic breakdown points. They had relationships with local law enforcement. At least one officer was on their payroll to legitimize their operations. Over the next hour, I documented 7 different cases. I recorded the CB conversations. I photographed Tommy, still trying to sell toys. I took video of Michael's breakdown, the crumpled business cards, the Honda with Florida plates. Then I made calls. First to Ironwood, the original victim Lou had mentioned. He was angry, defeated, but willing to share his documentation. He'd kept everything: receipts, text messages, photos of his vehicle at their compound. I wanted to sue, Ironwood said, but my lawyer said it would cost more than the car was worth. They operate in this perfect gray zone where it's legal enough that cops won't touch it, illegal enough that insurance won't cover it, and expensive enough that victims can't afford to fight. What if we had federal leverage? I asked. What if this affects interstate commerce? Then you'd be talking DOT enforcement, maybe FBI if there's fraud. But Marcus, you'd need proof of systematic operation. One victim isn't enough. I've got 8 victims now, and I'm about to get evidence from inside their operation. I called Lou back. Need you to patch me through to your contact at DOT enforcement, the one who handles predatory towing complaints. 20 minutes later, I was on the phone with Agent Sarah Vickers, Department of Transportation, Criminal Investigations Division. I laid out everything: the victims, the pattern, the systematic targeting of interstate travelers. Mr. Cole, she said carefully, everything you're describing is concerning, but most towing operations technically comply with state law, even when they're unethical. Without evidence of fraud, coercion, or falsification of services, my hands are tied. What if I told you they're falsifying equipment usage, charges, and kickback schemes with spotters who cause breakdowns? Then I'd need proof, and I'd need it documented in a way that stands up in court. I smiled. Give me until tomorrow morning, and have a team ready to move on, Fernley. I went back to Michael. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to call Silver State and tell them you've got the money. All of it. Cash. You want to pick up your car first thing in the morning. 8 a.m. sharp. Michael looked confused. But I don't have... I know. That's not the point. We need them to agree to the transaction, to confirm the amount in writing. Text or email if possible. Can you do that? He pulled out his phone with shaking hands. The call lasted 5 minutes. Dex was all business, suddenly friendly again now that payment was coming. He confirmed via text. Full payment, $2,347.82. Due 8 a.m. tomorrow for release of vehicle. Cash only. Late fee applies after 8:30 a.m. Perfect. I screenshot everything. That night, I made more calls. I contacted every trucker who'd shared a Silver State story. 6 of them agreed to meet at Fernley in the morning. Not for confrontation, for documentation. We were building a wall of witnesses. I also reached out to a contact I had, a retired FBI agent named Frank, who now ran a blog exposing fraud operations. Marcus, this is beautiful, Frank said after I sent him everything. You've got systematic targeting, interstate commerce disruption, and probable RICO violations if there's an organized conspiracy. Plus the child exploitation angle, using a 6-year-old's desperation as marketing. What's the play? I asked. Document everything tomorrow. Get them on camera accepting payment while admitting to fees. Get them on record explaining their business model. Make sure you're on public property. Then let federal agents do the arrest. What if they get violent? They won't. These operations depend on the illusion of legitimacy. The moment cameras and badges show up, they fold. But Marcus makes sure that kid is nowhere near when this goes down. I promised. That night, I bought Tommy and Michael dinner. Real food, not gas station garbage. Tommy fell asleep in the booth, clutching his remaining toys. Michael cried quietly. Why are you helping us? I thought about it. Because 12 years ago, I broke down in Montana with $200 to my name and a load I couldn't afford to lose. A trucker named Big Sam paid for my tow, got me to a shop, and loaned me repair money. Told me, the road takes care of its own. Pass it forward when you can. So that's what I'm doing. Michael gripped my hand. What if this doesn't work? Then we fight longer. But it will work. Because what they're doing isn't just unethical, it's criminal. And they've gotten away with it because their victims were isolated, broke, and powerless. But you're not isolated anymore. At dawn, 6 trucks rolled into Fernley Pilot. Not a convoy, just drivers arriving for legitimate business. But we all parked within view of each other. All of us had dash cams running. I'd also contacted a local news crew with a tip about a consumer protection story. They showed up at 7:45 a.m. At 7:50, Agent Vickers arrived with two other DOT investigators, and to my satisfaction, two FBI agents. "Mr. Cole," Vickers said, "if this is a waste of federal resources, it won't be. But I need you out of sight until we document the transaction. Otherwise, they'll refuse service, and we lose the leverage." She didn't like it, but agreed. At 8 a.m., Michael and I drove to Silver State Recovery's compound. Tommy stayed with another trucker's wife at the Pilot. The compound was exactly what I expected. High fences, barbed wire, a small office trailer, and about 40 vehicles in various states of disrepair. Dex met us at the gate. All business. I had my phone in my pocket, recording audio. I also wore a small body camera, disguised as a button, Frank's suggestion. "Mr. Torres," Dex said, "you got the payment?" Michael nodded, pulled out an envelope I'd prepared. Inside was $2,347 in cash, money pooled from the 6 truckers present. Dex's eyes lit up. "Let me count this." While he counted, I asked questions. Casual, curious. "So you do a lot of highway towing?" "Oh yeah, we're the busiest in the area." "How much do you usually charge?" "Depends. Highway calls are minimum $1,500, more if it's specialized equipment." "Even for short distances?" Dex looked up, slightly defensive. "It's dangerous work, highway speeds, heavy equipment, plus we got overhead yard fees, storage, insurance." "You own this place?" "My boss does, Dex Morrison." "Oh wait, that's me." He laughed at his own joke. "Built this business from scratch 5 years ago. Must be profitable." "Very. Tow a couple vehicles a day at these rates. You do the math." He finished counting. "All here. I'll get your release paperwork." While he was inside, I texted Vickers. "Admission of pricing structure recorded. Moving to phase 2. Dex returned with a clipboard. Michael signed. Then Dex said something that sealed his fate. "Pleasure doing business. And hey, if your friends ever break down, send them my way." He handed Michael a stack of business cards. "I got spotters on most major routes. We'll take good care of them." "Spotters?" I asked innocently. "Yeah, network of guys who watch for breakdowns and call us first. We pay them a finder's fee. Totally legal referral business." I smiled. Interesting business model. We got in Michael's Honda, which turned out to start just fine after Dex fixed a mysterious fuse that had been pulled. As we drove out, I called Vickers. He just admitted to a kickback scheme for directing stranded motorists to his business, implied spotters may be causing breakdowns, and confirmed systematic targeting. "You're up." We drove to the Pilot. Behind us, 3 federal vehicles rolled toward Silver State Recovery. What happened next was anticlimactic, but satisfying. Dex initially refused to let agents into his property. They showed warrants. He claimed everything was legal. They showed recordings. He demanded to call his lawyer. They showed him the witness statements from 8 victims, the documented pattern, and the financial records they'd already subpoenaed overnight. Dex Morrison folded in 20 minutes. Turned out his operation was even worse than we'd documented. He'd been running the scheme for 4 years, over 300 victims. He'd paid off a local cop to ignore complaints. He'd had 2 spotters who would intentionally damage vehicles, pulling fuses, loosening battery connections to create breakdowns near his coverage area. The total fraud estimate exceeded $600,000. Federal charges included wire fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy to commit extortion. State charges added predatory lending and consumer fraud. Dex was arrested before noon. His assets were frozen. Victim restitution fund established. By sunset, the news crews had the story. By the next morning, it was national news. Nevada towing scam exposed by truck driver and 6-year-old boy. Tommy became a hero. Michael got his car back, got reimbursed for what he'd paid, and got offered a job by a company that saw the news and wanted to hire someone with that kind of integrity in teaching his son values. The other victims, including Ironwood and the truckers I'd contacted, all received restitution. Several filed successful civil suits. Silver State Recovery was dissolved, its assets sold to pay victims. But the best part happened 3 weeks later. I was pulling through that same Fernley Pilot when I saw a small figure running toward my truck. Tommy, wearing a new backpack, with his dad right behind him. "Marcus! Marcus!" He crashed into my legs in a hug. Michael shook my hand, eyes wet. "I got the job. We moved here to Fernley. Tommy starts at a new school Monday, and I wanted you to have this." He handed me a small package. Inside was the Optimus Prime I'd bought from Tommy. He insisted you have it back, said heroes should have the best toys. I knelt down. "Tommy, this is your toy. You don't have to. I want you to have it," he said seriously. "So you remember that kids can be brave too, and so you know that some grown-ups are good." I still have that Optimus Prime. It sits on my dashboard now, a reminder that justice doesn't always look like confrontation. Sometimes it looks like documentation, persistence, and refusing to accept that legal and right are the same thing. Sometimes it looks like a community of drivers who remember that the road takes care of its own. And sometimes it looks like a 6-year-old boy selling his treasures to help his dad, showing more courage than most adults ever will. The last time I talked to Michael, Tommy had joined his school's chess club and was talking about becoming a lawyer when he grows up, to help people like Mr. Marcus helped us, Tommy had told his teacher. Michael laughed when he told me. I tried to tell him, "You're not a lawyer." He said, "It doesn't matter. You knew how to make things right, and that's what lawyers should do." Smart kid. The road does take care of its own, but sometimes it takes a 6-year-old's courage to remind us that looking away is never an option.